53106 is our text number. That will cost you 30 cents, or you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter. It is time for Movies and Booze. We're joined by our regular Movies and Booze panel, Esther McCarthy, Dean McGuinness and Dara O'Briain. I found 4 bottles of beer in my garage, but they don't have any labels left on them. They are tall, thin neck bottles, brown glass, and probably a fair few years old. Any idea what they could be? Morris wants to know.
Yeah, but we can publicise it on Black Radio. Yeah, no,
that's one of the more intelligent questions we got, Dara. Sean, wow. I had a beer.
His grandmother has been storing their urine away for 20 years in case of a nuclear emergency.
That would be like 15 ABV by now. I had a beer a while ago by Brewdog called Tokyo. It was a stout at 18.2%. Lovely stuff, but I haven't been able to find it since, says Matt in County Waterford. That could be because he's blind now.
Yeah, no, Brewdog are just literally brewing out beers as fast as they possibly can. They brought out a beer now called Tactical Nuclear Penguin. Sink the Bismarck. Sink the Bismarck was brought out in response to a German brewery outdoing the 20-odd% beer that they brewed, and they decided they'd brew a strong one. I think they've got beer at about 40% ABV now, which is like pretty much whiskey.
Yeah, we did, because they brought out a beer called Nanny Steaks, which we brought in just to
2.8%. Just
to annoy people. Hi, Beer Brain McGuinness. I was making a batch of homebrew last night. I cut my finger. What are the chances of me getting a yeast infection?
Okay, right. Well, a yeast infection, I think, is normally kind of associated with that.
With the finger? No. We'll move on from that subject. Yes. Funny enough, and there is no connection between these two. Now, okay, I won't read that out. Very bad producer, not concentrating on her job, because people. It's Dara O'Briain. Because people, as people actually make up names for Dean and Esther.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like the film Floozy, etc., and that kind of stuff. Somebody's made one that kind of crosses the line.
Okay.
But Caroline sent it.
You should read it out.
No, I'm not going to read it out. It's picture, and it's another word that starts with P.
Okay.
Meow.
Okay.
I still haven't got it. I'll take your word for it though.
God,
or not.
She's useless. Right, okay, I'm heading to the cinema tonight with the wife. Could you ask, picture beep, if Moneyball is any good? I've heard it's worth seeing. Darren Portleash wants to know.
Yeah, it's quite sweet. Despite being about baseball, it's actually quite good. It's really kind of Field of Dreams stuff. Brad Pitt's great in it. He'll get an Oscar nomination next week, I think. The interesting thing about it is it's kind of set around the lower leagues of sport. So he's kind of his team are a bit of a disaster, and he hasn't got the money to pay for good players, and when he gets good players he has to sell them on. So he teams up with Jonah Hill, who's a kind of a mathematical genius, to try and see can they statistically get their way out of it and
true story,
successful.
Yeah, true story. It's based on Billy Bean in the was the A's or the
Oakland's, was it? Yeah.
And who picked players that nobody else wanted because he saw the stats. The stats showed that these guys were good. And this is how he brought a whole new approach to it. And whether or not that actually ever worked off, I'm dying to say it.
It's good, and Brad Pitt's great in it. He's really
bizarrely, why is baseball so good for movies? Why is baseball such a good sport for films? Sports you'd never think of watching. There's never been a soccer movie. There's never been a particularly good rugby movie. I didn't see Invictus. But golf and baseball just seem to tend to create very good films.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, it's maybe because they're just made in the United States, really. Because you wouldn't have an American-based soccer movie.
No,
really.
No.
Barry on Twitter wants to know, how does Dara make you living in England? He's hilarious but talks way too fast.
I slow down when I'm in England. I have 2 settings. I had a number of settings always. I had the Echo Island setting and the live setting and the Don't Feel the Gondola setting. I can switch quite happily between them. But I definitely put a halt on it.
Ken in New York wants to know, could you ask Dara if he has any plans to travel to the USA?
No, it's difficult enough getting the time to bounce between the UK and Ireland, to be honest, without going and essentially starting again and going through all that again, which would be a crazy adventure to take. But I have done that twice or 3 times now, and I just thought of schlepping from club to club in New York to do all that. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, you're just not interested.
Well, you'd also have to shift. You'd also have to change. The American comedy is sorry, I'll go back to films and booze in a minute, but American comedy is in its own little ecosystem. They get nothing in. We get everything. Obviously, we get all of their stuff, and we also get our own stuff. And in London, you get stuff from all over the world. You get Australians and Americans and Canadians and people from New Zealand and Ireland and Scotland and everything. America just gets America. So if you go to America, you sort of have to tailor what you say to the fact that they have no idea that this stuff happens outside of their boundaries. They have no idea who you are. Ed Byrne put it very well. If you just come out and say, hey, isn't it strange the way that men and women, but they will go, why are you talking in that voice? And you have to spend the first 5 minutes going, I'm not from here, I am. And the other thing is, if I go over and go, I am Irish, that means something different over there to what it actually is. That means that Irish-American thing, and just having to get over that little hump, I think we find it a bit, it would just be, to get past that in the 10 minutes you've got in a club in America, to get past that into actually doing this stuff, I think it would be
too much hassle.
A little bit. I'd love to play some gigs. I've done some gigs over there I've enjoyed, just for the fun of being on stage and looking at a giant picture of Jerry Seinfeld and going, that's mad. It would involve a huge gear change.
We had Pete Wedderburn actually on the show a couple of weeks ago, and we did ask him about the infamous puppies on Echo Island incident. He gave what was basically a completely watered down version of events, that the puppies passed away and we didn't mention it or something. What actually happened?
Fraud. We didn't commit fraud on the young people of Ireland. The puppies died in vitro. They did, as far as I know, they were never born. The puppies. So he
never mentioned that little detail.
As far as I know, they didn't reach term. I mean, that's the sad truth of what happened to the puppies. It wasn't that the puppies were born and then we kept them to train for fighting or something. It was the puppy pregnancy didn't work out and the puppies didn't make it.
Right.
It was more the fact that we pushed it and then never mentioned it and never mentioned it.
Oh, you didn't bring in other puppies and pretend they were the puppies?
No, actually, really, why didn't we do that? Because actually I have no problem with lying on television. And particularly at that stage, there was no general problem with lying on television. I don't know why we didn't do that, but we just decided to keep well clear of it all. We could have actually shipped in any puppies at that point.
Yeah.
Huge dash hunt puppies, and listen, it's amazing they come out all different animals. One of them is a gerbil. It's all we could get. Some poor researcher going, it's all I could get. You give me half an hour's notice, I ran to the first
Why is one wearing a scarf? Right, okay, the beer. Do you like this beer, Dan?
This is because I'm not normally a beer person. What is a winter beer?
Well, a winter beer, typically above average strength, but with both of these beers, we've got a little bit of spice going on in them. First beer is called Pam Double, first brewed in 1947 by Pam Brewery's Alfred Van Roy. Was the master brewer there at the time, and he brewed it as a winter beer to celebrate their 200th anniversary.
But so we say winter, to be released at winter, to be drunk at winter?
To be released at winter, to be drunk at winter, typically used, brewed using dark malts and typically having a slightly warming flavour to it from a little bit higher ABV. So on this one we're at 6.6%.
Does have notes of
this isn't beer, this is wanky drinking beer. This is what this is all about.
I'm getting charcoal, I'm getting peat, I'm getting regret, I'm getting indecision,
flashbacks to your late teens.
No, it's definitely a beer to drink whether we're friends or to forget. It is.
Susan on Twitter says that a good soccer movie, Escape to Victory.
Oh, epic but terrible. But
Pele's goal is great at the end.
It is. And when Pele takes the chalk and goes, I get the ball, I go here, goal.
It is quite funny, yeah.
Bend it like Beckham.
Better like Beckham is the
right. Yeah. Sweet, yeah. But I think the cleverer filmmakers, if they're doing anything sports related, like they either get extras who can play the sport or stay clear of trying to do too many impressive moves on the pitch. That's the secret of it, really.
American sports, anyway, the rhythm of American sports is much more punctuated. It's much more about there being moments of importance. And they're already quite cinematic to a certain extent. I mean, Friday Night Lights, that kind of
very sweet,
it's great and fabulous television show. But have you ever seen Friday Night Lights?
No.
Wonderful TV show. We would have never registered that much over here, but brilliant television show. There's your box set. There's your 5 box sets to watch. Small town in Texas, obsessive about his football team and just follows these people through that. But the sports are based around, there is a moment, there is one point where a guy has to throw the ball and that has to get in there, and it happens where they're broken down. Where soccer is, nothing's happening, does them. Oh, just go! Doesn't really let the chance.
Oh, actually, why it did show in Ireland, it showed on TG5. My producer tells me. She's really at the top of her game today, yes. Don't be putting that finger up. Put it down. And go away and wash your hands.
What language is TG5 broadcasting?
It's for the immigrant community, yes. So, Esther, did you like that?
Yeah, it's lovely.
It is lovely. It is kind of a warming beer.
Yeah, they've got a cool thing going on with it. They've got a blend of spices in it for the kind of winter warming effect. But the brewery that brews it also brews a beer called Steam Bruges. And Steam Bruges is an abbey beer brewed without any hops and exclusively using spices. So they have a blend of spices called Grut, which is...
They actually put spices in the beer now.
Yeah, absolutely. With both these beers, with the second beer that we're tasting, there's 300 grams of spices per 1,500 litres. So it's quite an amount.
All right. And what spices particularly did they put in there?
Cinnamon, anise. Sometimes with the second beer, they've got orange peel. Coriander is one that's often used. A little bit tricky sometimes to get the exact spices on the beers, because sometimes they keep it as a secret and then you have to try to work it out. It's a bit like those programs where they reverse engineer Domino's pizzas to show you how you can cook your own Domino's pizzas at home. You obviously don't want to say
sounds alarming. I'm wondering if I can get any Stone Brewing, Three Floyds or Russian River beers in Ireland.
Okay, old craft breweries, and to the best of my knowledge not available, but definitely want to try and travels.
Red Stripe?
Red Stripe
that's always...
Yeah, it's owned by Diageo and it's brewed in the UK, so the chances are that if you get it in Ireland, it will be the UK Red Stripe. It's distributed widely in the UK, but I don't think it's being brought in. Diageo, I don't believe, bring it in themselves, so other people tend not to bring it in because they figure if they make a success of it, Diageo will just continue to do it themselves.
What does the beerman think of Leffe and Duval, which we've had many times in this programme? I'm really hooked on them since a trip to Belgium.
Oh, well, yeah.
Shame.
Loads of other beers available in Belgium as well, but yeah, there's hundreds of them. So
they're probably the best known, though, of those kinds of beers.
Leffe is owned by AB InBev, which AB would be the Anheuser-Busch that brews Budweiser, and InBev would be Interbrew and Ambrew joined together a number of years ago and came up with the wonderful name InBev out of the combination of the two companies. But they would be the biggest brewery in the world, so they have like huge distribution infrastructure, so it would be available generally around. Duval's still independent, but there's talks that they may be up for a takeover because they're very, very successful. They do very well.
As I said, the listeners do like to give names to the people during Movies and Booze. Damo doesn't want to leave you out, though. He says, can you ask the Funny Bone Fiddler where's a comedy club in London?
Where's a good comedy?
A good comedy club in London. What would be your favourite?
Comedy store in Comedy Store in Leicester Square would be kind of with the centre point, and it all emanate out from there. 2 shows on a Friday, 2 shows on a Saturday. Go to the earlier show. But Jenny, Time Out in London will offer. There are clubs all over the place. And there are some excellent clubs. It's a case of the listings are all in the magazine, and they're fairly thorough. And people drop in and do, new acts come in and do established TV acts will come in and try out material. So it's a very vibrant scene.
Ask Dara if he remembers presenting Blind Date for UCD Science Day back in his college days. An image I can never forget. Dara in fishnets and a mini skirt, aka Scylla, one of his finest and funniest moments.
I don't recall ever doing it like that, but if that's the memory that they're taking from it, I remember doing it in a very loud 1970s Teflon suit that I found upstairs in the house once. And I was smash an egg on my own head at one stage to avoid these. It was all fairly ridiculous, but We
had a picture of you in fishnets.
Cool.
We've worth a few bob now. Yeah. I would imagine. Yes. So if anybody out there has it, we can do a distribution deal.
What's me now in fishnets?
Right. Would you? What film do you want to do first?
Let's talk about Shame.
We'll talk about Shame after this. 1890 453 106 is our low call number. Our text number is 53106. That will cost you 30 cents. You can follow us on Facebook or Twitter, and Caroline Clark isn't crap. It is time for Movies and Booze, and Esther, Dara and Dean are still with us. Lots of comments coming in on kind of various subjects. I'm in my 20s, brought my girlfriend to see The Artist, and was sitting beside an 80-year-old married couple. Most surreal thing ever. All 4 of us enjoyed it. That's an odd kind of a comment. I don't know what to take from that.
Actually, I went back to how smitten I was with The Artist, and I went back to see it on Sunday afternoon. And I did notice it's getting an older audience. It's bringing older people back out to the cinema, which can only be a good thing. I think.
That's good.
Yeah, I noticed it.
That is nice.
And a lovely spontaneous round of applause at the end as well. It's
Really?
a rare, lovely thing that happens
nice
at the end of a movie. Yeah.
Mick says, love to know why you paddies are always mocking us Americans. You're a tiny, insignificant country with a huge sense of yourselves. You constantly want to know what the world thinks of you. Well, I've got news for you. The rest of the world doesn't give a crap about you, says Mick the Yank.
That would be among the reasons I try not to do gigs when that isn't the point I was trying to make anyway. So well done, Mick, being tad sensitive about that.
Yes. And a few suggestions for actually sports films. Irish soccer film Studs, 2006-ish, with Brendan Gleeson, was on Setanta last night. Absolutely gas.
Excellent.
The Football Factory was a good movie. Not much football, though.
No,
it's more about the hooligan element of it, wasn't it? Yeah.
Kieran says, you forgot about Goal. Awesome football film.
Goal? What was Goal?
I don't remember that.
Tumbleweed on that one.
Oh,
It's
actually,
Brazilian,
was that the Brazilian movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I've never seen it. It's supposed to be great, though.
Ireland beating England in the Six Nations was a great rugby film. Okay, it wasn't a film, but it was great. Was in South Africa 6 years ago. Drank a few windhoeks. Can it be got here? Justin in Mayo wants to know.
It has been brought in sporadically. It's from Namibia in Africa, and it is one of the beers that tends to be more popular from Africa. It may be available, but it tends to appear and disappear a little bit.
This is one we haven't been asked before. Jay in Wexford wants to know, is Swiss beer Cardinal available in Ireland?
Yeah, funny, around this time of the year you get this a lot. People who are going on ski trips and they're drinking beers, in Switzerland or Austria or somewhere like that, that aren't generally broadly available but are hugely available in around the skiing resorts. So that's one that I don't believe is being brought over. There's another one called Edelweiss that really sticks in people's minds, probably because they're just after watching The Sound of Music and then going off on the skiing trip. Not to the best of my knowledge available, but I could be caught out by somebody who's bringing it in.
Just a very, very quick question about African beers. I'm sorry if you can move on to something.
No, that's
but is Guinness in Africa regarded as a Nigerian beer? Isn't that
They do brew Guinness in Nigeria, and interestingly, the way that they do it is they brew a Guinness concentrate in Dublin and ship it down to Nigeria because they don't want to give the entire recipe to Nigeria. So they have a small amount of it that they keep back and brew it in Nigeria, but it's quite a different beer.
Yeah, but as a brand, it's known in Africa. It's known as a Nigerian brand rather than an Irish brand.
It could be, yeah. Like I know it internationally as an Irish brand, but Nigerian Guinness is well known as being distinct from
around Africa, probably as being Nigerian. And finally, the person wants to know about Red Stripe. John texted in to say you can get Red Stripe in the off license next door to me. And he lives in Crumlin.
I was actually going to check the off license next door to John tomorrow,
which is where you can get most of your drinking needs. We'll move on to our first film. It's Shame. We do have a clip for you. In this clip, Brandon is further concerned about Sissy after she spends the night with her boss, David.
It's disgusting. That's my boss. You sleep with him after 20 minutes. Now you're calling him up. What's the matter with you? You know he's got a family, right? You know he's got a family.
No.
You didn't see the wedding ring in his finger.
No.
You're a liar.
I'm sorry.
You're always sorry.
At least I say I'm sorry.
Try doing something. Actions count, not words.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, but I'm trying.
So, not a comedy then.
A romantic comedy, yes. I know, this is pretty great. I mean, it's tough going, there's no denying, but I think when you know the people involved, like this is our own Michael Fassbender of the Killarney Fassbenders, not the German Fassbenders, we're claiming him. He's re-teaming with Steve McQueen, who's a former Turner prize-winning artist turned filmmaker, and he did something very, very special with a film called Hunger about 4 years ago.
With the same actor, with Fassbender as well.
Same actor, turned Michael Fassbender from a bit part actor who was supplementing his work by working in a London bar into kind of an overnight star, really, after 10 years in the business. And they're back working again, and long may they continue to collaborate because they're really, really good together. They bring out the best in each other. So he's looking at the whole area of sex addiction here, and you know, there's been much made of Michael Fassbender being naked and stuff, and he's a bit of a heartthrob. But I can tell you, this film is all about sex, but it's not sexy.
Yeah.
Like it's quite a dark subject matter, and he's playing a kind of a New Yorker, a bit of a yuppie character who's very successful, but who spends pretty much all of his time either sleeping with hookers or on the internet or accessing porn in whatever way he can. But he kind of has this element of his life under control, even though one of the guys in the IT department is slightly freaked out when they go through his computer one day in the office. But most of the time it's under control until his sister arrives to stay with him. She's pretty unhinged. She's played by Kerry Mulligan, the very hot British actress who's kind of getting all the big roles at the moment. And she's kind of a very strange character, and she wants to stay with him for a while. He's not happy about this at all. She gets involved with the boss and kind of has a little fling. And really, the less you know after that, the more powerful this film is, because it's a very, very character-driven kind of story. And it's, you know, you start to wonder what's gone on in these people's lives, that they're kind of so damaged in different ways. And really, the less you know about it, the better off. But it's very, very powerful stuff. And the acting is exquisite in it. Like, it's really, really good. Michael Fassbender has been on my radar for a while now. He's he's great, and he's also he can do lots of different things. Like, he was pretty good in X-Men this year, the reboot from the 1960s, where they kind of went back to origins with it, and he was great in that as kind of a blockbuster star. But here he's just really, really terrific, and I'm hoping the subject matter doesn't turn the Academy off, because they can be a conservative bunch, the Oscar voters, and I really hope he gets a Best Actor nomination on Tuesday when they're announced.
Just in the face of it, not having seen it, there's a difficulty with I would imagine, with a film like this, in that it's hard to draw particularly empathetic characters, because people are going to make judgments about you if you've got a sex addiction. Yeah,
and I mean, he's not a nice person in it either, and you need an actor with serious charisma to kind of to carry that off, really, and he does it, you know, and it's such a good collaboration between them. I see them being kind of working together and making lots of films in the future, and I can't wait, to be honest. And it's great to have someone like Steve McQueen come into filmmaking, because when you've come out of another area, I think you've a completely different eye when it comes to what you do and what you make. And you know, there's enough kind of Hollywood hacks out there, so it's really interesting to have someone like him doing stuff like this. But like a Friday night laugh, it is not.
It's not a date movie then.
It's definitely not a date movie, no.
It might be a really weird date movie.
Well, I suppose you'd kind of get past first base and you get straight onto like whether this is going to work as a relationship or not. So,
well, then no probably would be the answer if that's your choice for a date movie. I would have thought. Okay, well that's shame. It's kind of powerful stuff, obviously.
Yeah,
but
I would say I hope it gets a few Oscar nominations. Like Abby Morgan's written a really good script as well. I would see it getting maybe a screenplay nomination on Tuesday, and be great buzz if an Irish actor in the final five.
She's incredibly hot, Abby Morgan, and she's working everything at the right now. She's doing another series of The Hours.
She wrote the Thatcher film as well.
Thatcher film at the moment. Yeah. Fassbender by nice neat link up people. I remember somebody going on Twitter going, how do I know him? He was one of the brothers in that Guinness ad.
He's the guy who swam across the Atlantic.
New York.
Yeah, I thought because he was too good looking to be in a Guinness ad, really. So that's probably why he moved on. Anyway, we'll be back with the news on Newstalk. And you are listening to the Moncrieff Show on Newstalk. 1890 453 106 is our low call number. Our text number is 53106. That'll cost you 30 cents. Or you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter. Esther McCarthy and Dee McGuinness are with us for Movies and Booze, and we have Dara O'Briain here on work experience just to find out how the broadcasting works.
I have nowhere to go until about half 8.
And it's a warm place to shelter for a while.
It is. Can I just keep walking up and down Grafton Street?
Yeah, exactly. Hello. We were talking about shame, which is deals with the subject of sex addiction. Brian on Twitter says, surely Irish lads will have trouble empathising with a fellow who gets his hole on a daily basis and moans about it. That's possibly a problem. All right. Gerard Butler was also in a Guinness ad. Not bad in the casting stakes. Says Sonia Lennon, who's a old friend of the show as well. Sean, would you ever fill up Dara's glass? He keeps glancing into the emptiness with a kind of forlorn look. What is you can watch it on
for God's sake.
6, maybe 7 people are watching us on the internet right now.
I was just staring at it, but a new one has arrived.
Is Dara a Seinfeld fan? Ray wants to know.
Yes, both of him as a comic is very stylized, but he's very good at it. And the show, this myth that the show is a show about nothing, is rubbish. It's the most beautifully, intricately crafted things in the world. world. It's brilliant. It never got a good run out, a fair run out, when it was always shown at like 11:30 at night. And then I remember going to Australia where it's on at 7:30. It's on in the Friends slot, and on every day. And I soaked in it for a couple of months there. It's brilliant. Yeah. And also Sanders as well. Larry Sanders was the great sitcom of that time. American.
But now he's coming back as a stand-up.
Yeah, he's back over here. She did the show in the O2 in London last year, and it was very well received. He's a master craftsman of that stuff. He really is. He's excellent. It's a very much about the minutiae of life. Yeah. But he just twists things very, very. He's exceptionally good.
Eamon says this is going back to one of your UCD appearances. He says he found the Teflon suit upstairs. Come on, Dara, unless the honey monster lived upstairs, you bought that suit.
No, it's unfair to presume that I was always a giant round man. I was quite sleek like an otter in college, and it was. You remember me back in wandering around the gondolas like a whippet.
Yeah, like a whippet you are. Yes, you fall through things, small gaps. Yes,
yeah, it's remarkable.
Any website where you can import Carlton Draft? Dara wants to know.
A website where you can probably not import Carlton Draft, but there is the Beer Club is a good website for getting beers. Typically the beer selling websites will be places that are set up in Ireland because there's tax issues about moving beer across borders. But the Beer Club does do a good range of beers. They have about 300 beers on there.
Is Jupiter a Belgian beer available in Ireland?
Yeah, Belgian Pilsner. Not that I know of. SuperValu are bringing in a beer from Hock, a Belgian Pilsner, and there is another beer called a Stamnet coming in from Pan Breweries in a number of months' time, but I don't think Jupiter is being brought in.
Where can I get Chimay Blue beer in North Dublin?
Should be generally out there. North Dublin, Kilbarrack, McHugh's would be a good choice. It's in Superquinn, so that gives you 25 odd stores around the country.
So that's easy. Yeah. Where can I find Superbock?
Superbock's beer from Portugal. It was a little bit more widely available a number of years ago, but it's a little bit hard to get your hands on now. It's out there, but you need to probably go to the specialist off licenses to get it.
I was in New York a few years ago. Went to eat in a gastropub called the Spotted Pig, says JP in Mullingar. We drank a fantastic beer called Pacifico beer. Can it be got in Ireland? Apparently Jay-Z owns the Spotted Pig.
Okay, right.
You can't imagine Jay-Z being asked,
really?
what will you name it? I'd call it the Spotted Pig. Jay-Z impersonation there. But
it's also the Arsenal Supporters Club bar in New York. An unusual confluence of
parts, yeah. He's part owner. I didn't know that. Caroline told me that now. But then again, where did you find out this particular fact? Was it from watching TG5, for instance? Okay.
JG is a part owner. JW is a part owner.
Right. Okay. Right. Anyway. Final question is: would it be okay to give one bottle of Spaten Munich beer to a 6-year-old German Shepherd? Gary wants to know.
Yeah, there's probably old kind of legal issues about answering that question.
I think no would be the answer. Yes. Right. We'll move on to our second beer because time's pressing and all the rest of it. What is the second one?
We have got a second beer. It's from a new Irish brewery which has been set up by an Aussie and a New Zealander. Cameron and Scott are two guys who were told by their wives that they had to move back to Ireland, and the condition that they put on it was they would as long as they could set up their own brewery.
Right.
So you kind of figured that pretty much any man in the world would be happy with that. They've set up a brewery called 8 Degrees. The 8 Degrees comes from two things. First of all, that it's on the 8 degrees line of longitude, and second of all, that they recommend that all of their beers be served at 8 degrees. The beer that we're tasting is called a Winter's Ale. It's their first seasonal beer. They bring...
It's kind of vaguely stouty.
It looks like a stout as well.
Yeah, Ruby Ale is how they describe it, but it is a bit darker than you'd associate a Ruby Ale. It's pushing towards the porter end of things, towards an imperial porter. It has some chocolate malt in it, which will throw a huge amount of colour into it, and then a blend of spices again. They got a blend of spices from a supplier of spices to people who produce mulled wines and used it in the beers. So there's a blend of about 8 different spices in it. So they've got a nice thing going on with the malt. It's chocolate malt giving kind of chocolate flavour to it, and then a little bit of a plummy flavour from the Fuggles hops. They're using traditional English hops. Have done a really good job in it. They bring out 3 other beers called Sunburnt, Irish Red, Howling Gale and Knock Me Down Porter.
Right. Well, it's good that we're drinking an Irish beer today. Esther, I'd say you love this.
Yeah, I hate saying this because I sound like such a pink girly, but it's a bit too blokey for me now, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's a heavy taste, yeah.
It's 7.5%. It's got a good amount of flavour to it. It isn't one that if you're drinking kind of Coors Light on a night, you would switch over to it.
No, but it is kind of something definitely stoutish about it.
I think they've done a good job. They've done a good job in their other beers as well. A little bit of a kind of contemporary twist on the beers, so wish them the best.
And
of
you
that.
can get the chocolatey bit off it as well, I must say. Right, we'll move on to our second film. It is War Horse. We do have a clip. In this clip, Rose tells Albert about his father.
Oh, your dad makes mistakes and he drinks to forget the mistakes that he's made, but he never gave up. And he does that for us. And today, you showed the world it's all been worth it. You keep looking after Joey and he'll always be looking after you.
Sergeant, 7th Battalion, Imperial Yeomanry. Say this, Joey. It's been through an entire war. I'm not stealing it. I'll give it back to him someday.
There you go. That's War Horse. So, World War II?
World War One, actually.
World War One, okay.
Which is kind of the pleasure in it, because we haven't seen enough of it on the big screen, you know. So it's Steven Spielberg, and it's a big departure for him. I spent the first half hour kind of going, God, this is a little hokey and slow. And then about halfway through, I started sobbing and did not stop for about 2 days after. It's a real, like, old-fashioned family weepy. And
you sobbed for 2 days afterwards.
Well,
that doesn't really mean it's a good film. That means you have severe personality problems. So you sure you should be here drinking on live radio?
Okay, 10 minutes off. 10 minutes off.
All right. Slight exaggeration then. So you're lying is a problem too.
Yeah, don't trust me. Yeah, it's a very old-fashioned matinee, weepy Sunday afternoon kind of thing that you'd watch growing up, and it's really sweet. It's a little slow, and I suppose this and Shame counter each other perfectly. Like, if you want something kind of, you know, traditional and enjoyable, go and see War Horse, especially if you've seen Shame. And if you want something more challenging and strange, then you swap around, you know, you swap one for the other. But it's set during World War One, and it's kind of basically Black Beauty with bombs. It's this boy takes in this horse to train him in, and he's got kind of family problems, played by newcomer Jeremy Irvine, who has the saddest face ever. And sorry, I'm going to start crying again. But
we need a kid with a sad face.
Yeah.
Face is a sad face.
Slap them before they send them into me. Yeah.
And we need a horse with a long face. Yeah. But so he trains in the horse, and this kind of unfolds very slowly and kind of in a cliched way, really, because you know that the father's going to try and whip the horse is going to go bananas, and then the kid's going to put the bridle on perfectly. But he breaks in the horse, and they form this bond. And it gets interesting then when the British cavalry come into town and basically take the horse against his will and bring it off to fight in the trenches. And this is where Spielberg comes into his own, really, because he's done for World War One here what he did for World War Two with Saving Private Ryan. Like, the wartime scenes on the front line are actually pretty brilliant, you know. And if you kind of go with the story for the first half, then what unfolds after that is really very special. So this horse goes off on this journey, but the boy is determined one day they'll meet again, and he gets to stay with a succession of different owners, including a young French girl who kind of befriends him. And that's kind of it. It's very retro, like last week's The Artist. It's kind of the time of year where you get films for grown-ups, and it's kind of sweet for that, you know.
Is it a kids' film then? No.
You could bring kids, yeah. It's a 12A search, so it's not particularly violent. There are some battle scenes and some scenes of animal cruelty, I suppose, obviously. But
it's a children's book, essentially.
It was originally a children's book. I think it kind of came and went as a children's book, and then it was revitalised as a stage play.
Well,
it's
got Michael Morpurgo, who's a children's laureate for a while in the UK, and then the stage play has been a
massive success,
huge success. I mean, a lot of it was about the technical puppeteering of the horses, but it's been a massive thing. I think it's gone in a different direction. But it was like, it was I think of another wartime book about death, which was a huge hit as well, and again was actually really aimed at young adults to a certain extent. And this was as well, so it should be suitable for.
It would, yeah, it is. I mean, it's a real emotional pull. Like, that's the idea of it, and Spielberg's always done that anyway. He's done it more with sci-fi, I suppose, than with wartime films, but he's good at it, and he kind of just keeps it on the right side of maudlin, though. You know, there are times where you'd be going, now come on, you know, through tears running down your face. But it's good and it's enjoyable. And again, you know, it's the time of year where you can bring kids to movies, you can bring your granny to cinema, you can bring your auntie. A lot of the time, a lot of the summer films are just aimed at teenage boys and the in-betweeners kind of audience. So it's nice to have something like this.
Okay.